Welcome, everyone, to the Cyber Physics Podcast, where we unravel the complex web of cybersecurity through the lens of its foundational principles. I'm your host, and today, we embark on an intellectual journey that mirrors the intricacy of physics itself. Joining us are two remarkable experts, Ranghan Venkatraman and Felipe Mafra, as we delve into cyber physics in essence.
Perhaps, starting with an intro of yourself for the audience.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm Felipe. I'm based here in Canada for living here for around 8 years, and now sitting as a CISO of the Thales Ground Transportation Systems, and been working on the cybersecurity field for around 18 years. Very hands-on, and now accepting the challenge to go to more executive role, using my technical skills. So yeah, seems to be working so far.
Well, thank you for that. I'm Ranghan Venkatraman. I head up three companies: Resilience, which focuses on AI; Pinnacle, that focuses on cybersecurity; and Curious, that focuses on edtech, basically.
Right.
So, very good to have you on the call here. Maybe I can start with looking at cybersecurity's challenges that that broadly impact the industry. As we can all see, the amount of ransomwares gone up significantly in the last 3 to 4 months. Even they've generally been on a raise, but there's been a sharp increase because of wars across the world. And we basically see, since we do this for a living, we have a heightened sense of awareness. And interestingly, it's about three things that we see as possible solutions. One is extreme ownership, extreme sense of urgency, and of course being extremely process driven. So would like to get your input on what you're seeing and what perhaps maybe solutions that you have either worked on or working on that the audience may benefit from knowing about how to address these issues.
Yeah, perfect. It's a good call because it's challenging in no the way that the people has access to information is challengeful because now in the world crisis we notice increased volume of attacks in not just our environment but also in the industry in general. So we always keep a look on the trend landscape and see how things are evolving. And one of the things that we are most of concerned is a possible way for them to integrate with those solutions with artificial intelligence. So if we reach out that moment, we're going to be in a big trouble. So malware could come into your environment and learn from your environment and evolve their attack methodologies by themselves, which is a concern, right? So things that we always try to avoid or try to find different gaps in our environment, either looking for the technical challenges or even our users. So educating the users is the first. Of course, they are always the entry point of this type of attacks. And well, if something evolves from there, the isolation or being ready for a response of the incident. So you always need to keep in mind that everything relating security needs to be integrated and well evolved, well developed. So you need to think all possible different methodologies that they can use. You need to think differently how you can mitigate and respond fast to incidents. Otherwise, it can gain persistency. It can continue in your environment for a couple of months. You can explore and move laterally to an environment. And let's say if you think only on backup as a solution, that's bad news because it can simply install persistency. And as you revolve you recover your backups, you're still infected. So you don't know when you need to recover. And you start recovering to a point where you're already losing information from the business since 3 or 4 months ago, right? So yeah, challenges that we always try to mitigate, thinking on multiple scenarios, performing risk assessments, because sometimes you may find difficulties on the executive side to continue investing on technology. And it's not always tools, is the people, is the processes, procedures, risk assessment, and frequent testing of the environment and making sure that you found all the gaps that you could possibly have in your environment.
Well, thank you for that. One of the things that we have seen a lot of benefit is to really combine what we call zero trust with defense in depth
That's
and
right.
a compliance framework to sort of go with it. The compliance framework could be CIS, could be NIST, it could be SOC 2, it could be a bunch of things. And bringing the right combination, can provide some, concrete methodology or a method to the madness. And I
Right.
think at the end of the day, it's about a method to the madness. And we also look at security in the form of defensive, offensive, preventive, and predictive. And when you actually can, really harden across those four layers, you can get to about 98 to 99%, sort of accuracy.
Right. Exactly.
And in terms of the approaches that have worked for you, perhaps you can shed some light, in your current environment or wherever you want to use as a reference.
Yeah, perfect. Containment is the case, right? So exactly linking to what you said, that the zero trust, making sure you have your networks fully segregated. So if there is some kind of attack or if there is some kind of access to your environment, you are able to contain and not spread these activities. So if you think about zero trust, for example, and the user uh, get attacked and it's able to pass and gain some like a threat actor gain access to an environment through that user. If that user follows or if we follow that zero trust approach, the access that external threat threat actors would have is the minimal, right? So and you can think about, of course, your VIP users and not just executives, but also your IT and personnel. They have domain administrators, they have several administrative accesses. So if in a case that they gain access, if an attack is successful through those users, you need to be able to contain that attack and thinking about like segregation of duties, even segregating domain administrative access. And if you're in a critical environment, you could even need to consider segregation of like a full hardware segregation. So if you have engineers that has access to the ICS or SCADA systems, why not have different uh, computers even to access those. It's fully segregated, so you don't have same network connectivity. You need to jump for another network meant for that, for you to be able to access the production of those critical servers. You need to jump to a different computer without internet activity, without email access. Challengeful, because at the same time, you're going to start generating impact to the business. Well, and we as a cybersecurity specialists, our key role is to maintain and protect the business. So you always need to think those variances and how to try to protect from those type of attacks. And zero trust, segregation of duties, segregation of networks is definitely something that we always consider.
No, absolutely. What are your key what do you see as where cybersecurity is evolving in 2024, and what should perhaps be actions that many enterprises ought to consider? One of the challenges that we face typically is the even when we work with customers, cybersecurity is a shared journey, and it is, where you cannot you can't operate in an island, which means that your clients have to be part of the journey every step of the way, and they have to partner.
Right.
But sometimes what happens is the degree of partnership is not consistent with customers. There are times when they really are, up and going on it, and then there are other times they take it lightly. So case in point, right, when we, the publicly available information on Comcast Infinity was they just missed a patch. A simple patch cost this. In Capital One, there was a configuration error on the WAF, and then they had access control. There was no control over access, and then all of that shit hits the fan. Very often, what we've seen is it's not the big mistakes that matter; it's the smallest detail that is the issue. What are your thoughts around that as well? So it's probably a two-part question.
Yeah, good point. I would like to also to add another example. For example, Target, right? So an attack that happened a couple of years back, where you had the best of breed technology to detect threats. You had the SOC, you have the SIM, but there you did not have enough people to monitor those attacks. So you can have all the technologies, all the tools available, detecting everything. But if you don't have, like, you're not going to have, and it's never going to have technology where you plug and play and would be able to detect those attacks by itself and contain those attacks by itself. You need to have people to analyze those attacks. You need to have people to custom to respond to the false positives, to custom those detections and preventive controls in order to mitigate those type of attacks. 2024, I believe it's going to be a challengeful because, as I said, the introduction of AI now, people are using it for email or to make their resumes look better. But there is going to be a certain moment where you can embed those technologies into attacks, into uh, ransomware or advanced persistent threats. If someone wants to attack your environment, you can have everything, but they're going to be able to attack. You can
So the question then can get asked is, if cybersecurity is so challenging and is so elusive, how do you convince somebody to actually invest in it? Because if you're, see, I look at it as a conflation of luck and capability. And the question really is that how much does capability play a role and how much does luck play a role? So the thing is, most organizations who don't get, I look at it as just two types of organizations. Either you've been attacked or you're going to get attacked. And if you really look at that metaphor, if I have to convince, somebody as an example, or the audience has to convince somebody, what approaches do you really think make sense for them to invest the right amount? I look at it as either you play to win or you play to participate. Most companies in this world today play to participate in cybersecurity. There is no play to win strategies, with the exception of maybe some really big companies that have just an unlimited amount of money and a zero appetite for risk. That is when they actually can, invest that kind of money. But by and large, most companies have to go for a delicate trade off between risk and cost, which means that they accept a certain level of risk and to lower their cost. But at the end of the day, God forbid there is an incident, then they get overly conscious about it and then start throwing money at it, just like what Home Depot did. They basically went and threw a lot of money after their attack. There's a knee-jerk reaction, but then they still fall back to the complacency once that's done, thinking that it's not going to ever happen to them. So, how do you go about this in your input, or your opinion on how do you generally, go after this problem, which seems to be too big? You have to spend a lot of money, and then there are no guarantees that you're ever going to get protected. Pretty ugly combination. Well, thank you. That's very insightful. Your points are very valid. I look forward to also covering maybe in a next meeting where we can discuss a couple of other topics because this is an ocean, And for any given podcast, you don't want to overstretch it, so that from an audience perspective, it becomes easier to digest the material. So I look forward to doing at least a couple of more with you on other topics if you're up to it. And separately, would love to have a conversation about anything that you believe we could potentially help you with based on the problem statements you have, and if there is a fit. So I'll also ask Kimberly to request some time with you, and we can go over our solutions. And maybe your input there will also help a lot. Because collaborative learning that we can all achieve, because there's nobody in this business who knows it all. So the more we work together, we become stronger. Most definitely. I'll have Kimberly coordinate that with you. But thank you so much for joining this conversation. Look forward to talking to you and collaborating with you. Thank you so much. Bye.
As we wrap up this enlightening episode of the Cyber Physics Podcast, we want to express our deep appreciation to our insightful guests, Ranghan Venkatraman and Felipe Mafra, for sharing their wisdom with us today. Cyber physics, in essence, has indeed brought us closer to understanding the intricate forces that govern our digital world. We hope you've gained valuable insights and inspiration to navigate the ever-evolving landscape of cybersecurity. Stay connected, stay informed, and remember, the essence of cyber physics is ever present in our connected reality. Until next time, keep exploring and seeking the equilibrium between innovation and safeguarding. Thank you for joining us on this captivating journey.